Hi, and thank you for your interest in DLRunner. DLRunner is a companion tool that works with Salesforce Data Loader run from the command line. Using DLRunner, you'll have more flexibility in how and when Data Loader jobs are run. You can automate the delivery of job statuses and output files, and it does other administrative tasks that Data Loader doesn't do. This short video will show you how to configure and run DLRunner. If you already have command line Data Loader installed and configured on your system, then DLRunner will work with that configuration. DLRunner consists of just two files, the executable file DLRunner.jar and a properties file. The default properties file for DLRunner is DLRunner.properties. Let's take a look at it and some of the configuration that's contained within it. You can think of a properties file as a definition of a grouping of Data Loader jobs to run. We call this a session. DLRunner has no user interface. All the information that is necessary to configure DLRunner is contained within the properties file. Most of the information that you see in the properties file is information on how to configure the individual properties and their options. The first section that we're going to look at are the properties for the DLRunner session. The first property in this section is the label. This is an indication of the label for the entire DLRunner session. In this case, my label is called My DL Jobs. The session label is used in the subject line for session emails and to be used in names for session files that DLRunner creates. Some of the other properties in this section is a working directory for DLRunner to use, a name for its log file, and an email address to send the information about the status of the session to administrator. The next section allows me to indicate to DLRunner where my data loader installation is. I indicate where the process.bat file is located on my system and where the processconf.xml file is located. If you've already have a working version of command line Data Loader, you're probably very familiar with the processconf.xml file. It contains information of the individual Data Loader jobs that you have configured to run. DLRunner reads the processconf.xml file to get the attributes of the Data Loader jobs you're running, such as output paths and input paths. The next section indicates the actual Data Loader jobs that I want DLRunner to run for this session. I can have anywhere from 1 to dozens of Data Loader jobs indicated here. In my case, I only have 2. The first is a case export job. I also have a case update job. For the case export job, I've indicated an email address where I want the exported data to be sent to. Similarly, for the case update job, I'm indicating an email address where the output from that job should be sent. Since this is an update, the output for these jobs will be the Data Loader generated success and error files. The last section of properties that we're going to look at are for archiving. Archiving allows me to do some of the administrative work around my output and input files for Data Loader that Data Loader doesn't otherwise do. I can indicate to DLRunner that I like all of the input and output files as well as the session files from DLRunner zipped together into one archive file and placed in an archive directory. Also, I can indicate to DLRunner that I like to keep my archive directory clean by giving it a number of retention days before archive files are deleted. In this case, my retention days is 90, which means on the 91st day, DLRunner will delete the oldest archive file. Now let's go ahead and run DLRunner. I'm going to open up a command prompt and type in the command line to run DLRunner. If I had a properties file named something other than DLRunner.properties, I can use the /p option on the command line and pass it the name of that properties file. Be sure to check out the configuration guide on the App Exchange page. It gives a good example of how to use multiple properties files with DLRunner in order to run different data loader jobs on different schedules. In our case for today, we're just going to use the default properties file, so I'm not going to use the /p option on the command line. When I run DLRunner, you'll probably recognize the output onto the screen. The same output you would see if you're running data loader from the command line without DLRunner. Since we are running our individual data loader jobs through DLRunner, DLRunner is keeping track of the files that are being created by data loader. Once the job is completed, DLRunner will send those output files to the email addresses that we've indicated in the properties files. Since we have archiving on, it also archived those files for us. Looks like our 2 jobs are completed now. So let's take a look at our email and see if we got the status emails that we indicated in the properties files. We should have 3 emails in our email inbox. 1 for each of the individual data loader jobs that we're running, and 1 for the session. Let's take a look at the email that we got for the case export job. This typically would go to an end user that's expecting this exported data. You can see that the email has information about the job, including how many records were extracted. In addition, you can see the output of the job, which is the exported case data, contained here within a zip file as an attachment on the email. Now let's take a look at the email that we got for the case update job. Again, this type of email would typically go to a user or maybe even an admin who's responsible to make sure that this job ran successfully. Like the case export email, it has information about the individual job. The case update email also has an attachment, but in this case the attachment is a zip file that contains the data loader generated success and error files for the update job. You can also see that DLRunner prepended the name of this job to the success and error files. This allows you or your users to keep better track of the success and error files that they get by associating them with the job that they came from. Now let's take a look at the session email that we got. This email would probably go to an administrator whose responsibility it is to make sure all the data loader jobs are running successfully. As you can see, there's a little more information in this email. It indicates all the data loader jobs that have been run, and also has information about the archiving that took place. You can see that the archive file contains the session label that we indicated in our properties file, as well as the date and timestamp. The session email also indicates all of the input and output files from this data loader session that were placed into the archive file. The sessions email also has an attachment. This attachment contains the data loader generated output from each of the jobs that were run in this session. In this case, there's 2 files, one for the output for the case export job and one for the output for the case update job. This information can be used for debugging in case of a failed data loader job. That's all there is to configuring and running DLRunner with your command line data loader. Be sure to go up to the App Exchange and take a look at the configuration guide for DLRunner. You can download and install DLRunner by clicking the Get It Now button on the App Exchange page. Once again, thanks for watching.